let's get started. So super stoked to be here. I always think it's funny, I don't feel like a social media expert by any means, but I love talking about it because it's helped my business so much. So I will give you all of the answers. I'm not saying they're right or wrong when I go through them, but
I feel the same way. I just will tell you what I've done that works, but I am no expert, so
awesome.
I'm with you on that.
And I feel the same way. But yeah, just with experience, I'll help highlight the things that works for me.
Awesome. Okay, so I thought that we could get started by talking about, like, if you are brand new in business, where do you start? How do you choose a platform? What are some questions you ask yourself when you're building out that platform? So I'll ask the question and you guys can take it away and then I'll give my feedback. Go.
You just asked the question, I guess, so we'll dive right in. So for me, when I started deciding that I wanted an online platform, I tried to appeal to who my ideal client or consumer was. So I do hair. So when I was posting things, I wasn't necessarily just posting what was trendy at the time or what probably would get the most views. I was strictly focusing on how am I going to get profit from this post, who will be in my chair and relate to this post. And for me, that helped because I was able to niche and find what was my ideal client and then post videos, content for that client.
Can we pause there for a second? Because when you talk about your ideal client, I feel like when I first started doing this, it was really hard for me because I'm like, I want to speak to everyone.
Totally.
I don't want someone that I'm not speaking to feel like they can't come and work with me. So did you struggle with that too?
Definitely. So when I first started out, it was very like, I'm a blonde specialist, so I would only post about blondes or just that particular client, and then I started just feeling bored. I wasn't inspired to show up, and so I'm like, I kind of want to take my brand and take it a little bit further, and then I transitioned. But definitely starting out, I was able to really get that community by having that narrowed down niche, which can be a good and bad thing.
Yeah. And I think really starting out, we're only 6 months old. I own Wild Swan, and it is really hard to figure out exactly like what kind of vibe and what you want to put out there. Especially for me, my thoughts are always all over the place. I like disco and parties, but then I also like girly pink, and then there's like the black moto part of me too, and I all wanted it, and that's part of why I wanted to name it Wild. Was it kind of is like a blanket over all different people and welcoming all different people into my space, and just inviting everyone and helping them feel welcome. So, and realizing that that's our brand. You don't have to go with one aesthetic. You don't have to put yourself in a box. Just, you can be your own box and build your brand off of that.
So I think for somebody brand new too, starting out maybe on Instagram, for example, I don't do TikTok, but some things that I wrote down that maybe you could ask yourself are, when people come to your profile, can they tell what you do? I know that sounds so easy, but I feel like there's so many people, I go to their profile, I'm like, I really don't know what they do. The other thing is, what do your pin posts say? So that's something that I feel like was newer for me. I'm like, if somebody's just now checking out my profile, what are those pin posts, and making those super intentional so that they know exactly like what I'm trying to communicate on there. The other thing you could ask yourself is, what kind of value do you want to provide through your content, and create content around that. And then how can you show up and be authentic on there? I mean, we just heard from Tyler for a long time about that. I think that's one of the biggest key pieces to growing a good social media is showing up. Like my major goal is always, how do I build likability and trust through my social media? And it's by being me, and then also showcasing what I do. All right, you guys want to move on to the next question? Or is there anything else you guys want to talk about on that?
I was going to add, just after Tyler's comments, that being authentic, and I mean, gosh, that was like such a great
It was really good.
it just made me realize, like, I've always had imposter syndrome. I'm like, what am I even doing here? I'm like, first of all, just thank you for having me, and I hope you can take away anything from me. But I started to realize when I was niching down and I was focusing on just that one thing, it felt so forced and I felt overwhelmed. And so that's when I really decided to self-reflect and what he was talking about, kind of like discover who I am and who I wanted to reach. And that is when I started to see just way better results. And I wanted to say the one tip that I recommend doing is just really figuring out your personality. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Enneagrams or doing that sort of stuff, if that's your thing. I really went down this self-discovery of that, and I was able to see who I could attract effortlessly, like not feeling forced. And to me, that was like a very pivotal moment.
That's awesome. I've never even thought about that.
It helps.
Yeah, I think that's been amazing for me. I think the biggest success was putting myself out on Instagram and kind of creating our vibe and just seeing the hairstylist that it attracted. So as a business, I needed some stylists, and it just kind of happened organically that my people came to me and reached out to me, and they sat down with me, and we just were able to kick it off right off the bat, because I'm like, oh, you're my people. You like outdoorsy things, you like music, and you have a passion for the same industry, and let's work together. And I think it's been the biggest thing to create my team at Wild. It's been so fun.
So let's go back to imposter syndrome, because I know and I feel like everyone I talk to suffers from that. So I know a lot of people, when they get on social media, they're like, I don't want to get on video. I don't want to take pictures of myself. I think we all go through this. So what do you guys do to help with that?
I mean, I think you're always going to feel it to some degree. Giving yourself permission to glow. Sean and I was going to come out with a podcast, which it's on hold. It's on hold. Don't know what I'm doing, but it's kind of working, so do you want to know what I'm doing? And you attract those same type of people that think like you, and so then you have this whole community that you actually are the expert because you're doing it and you're living it. So as soon as I saw that it was working, that imposter syndrome went away, because I was like, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, it's my way and it's working, so here's what I have to share. And once I just ran with that, everything felt more natural, and I just felt more authentic.
And that's actually one thing I really love about Marissa. I just just this week I was watching her stories, and she was doing a video of a blow dry, and you set up your phone on your station to video you doing the blow dry, the technique, and the phone fell off the station. But what did she do? She just did a little peace sign and picked up her phone, and she still posted it. And it made me laugh so hard. I'm like, these are the real moments that people appreciate and they want to see. So.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Content strategy. Do you guys have one?
Speaking of, that's like a really tall chair. Speaking of getting to know your personality, I know what I'm good at, or what I think I'm good at, and I know what I struggle with, and being organized and having a plan is not my thing. So I actually have, and we'll probably dive more into this, but I have a team behind me that I've hired that helps me do those little things that I dread and that I hate. And if I was doing those things, I would not be successful. I would be a mess, and I would hate my job. So yes, I have a content strategy that someone does on the back end, but only for the things that, like, let's say I have to promote an upcoming education class, or I have to promote, I own a small business, if we're going to be launching a new product. Things like that that aren't really like natural and fun for me to show up and post, I need that planned out. But if I want to just post about, I don't know, a lipstick I love or a new shirt, I'm not going to strategically plan that out because it's going to feel forced and it's going to look forced when I show up to talk about it. So there's just certain things that I decide what I should have planned or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think as a business owner, as a mom, as just, life is so busy and you can't be everywhere at once. And I think people do need help. And especially as you're building a small business, like I got my hype girl, Felicia, over here. She's my social media girl, and she's been just a game changer for me. And she created Muse and Publish, and she's been so sweet. And we just have our meetings once a month, and we go over what content we need to put out and what kind of shoots we want to create, and it's always a good time.
Less stress on you.
So let's say you're brand new and you can't hire a team yet, right? Because I think that hiring a team is so awesome when you get to that point. But if you're brand new and you're like, okay, I don't have the dollars to put into that right now, what would your advice to them be for their content strategy?
Oh man, consistency, and I hate that word because I'm so bad at it, but consistency, unfortunately. But here is what I've learned. I'm consistent in an inconsistent way. So my like world or my followers know, okay, she's gonna show up for a week every day and then she's gonna ghost us for like a month, but then she will be back for another week. And they know that consistency. But yeah, that's like my biggest advice I would give you is consistency. It doesn't matter if, yeah, you want to have the value. You don't want to just show up and talk about nothing. So make sure there is the value there, but don't overstress it. People just want to, it's like when we have our morning routine. I don't know, when I'm deciding to consume over create on social media and I'm scrolling, like I see a certain person and in my head, I'm expecting what I want to see from them, right? Because they're consistent with their brand or what they're going to post. Like, oh, here's so-and-so, she's going to post her morning drink, or she's going to post how she's packaging her product today. That consistency would be my biggest advice.
Yeah, and if you struggle with consistency, my advice to you would be get a buddy. I did this years ago. I said, I don't want to do this, and I don't know how people are getting these cute photos of themselves, and so I'm like, I'm just going to ask people to go do it once a month with me. And so I just started inviting people to do that, and now it's like something that I do every month, and there's like 50 entrepreneurs that come, and it's because everyone sucks at it. So like you have to figure out, if you aren't able to be consistent, figure out a way to find somebody that's going to hold you accountable and do that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to just have you tell everyone about this. Kristen is like the connector of all people. She is so sweet and always promoting like women entrepreneurs and
guys
helping
too.
them create their business. Yes, guys too, but I guess with our situation, you've been in the salon a lot, and we've done your content shoots in there, and we've had lots of ladies come through, which benefits our business too. So collabing is amazing for businesses. And then also you do your girls' nights every quarter. She has a fun little party.
Yeah.
Tell us about your parties.
Are you a planner?
Kind of. I've become a planner. I'm an Enneagram 7.
Okay, that makes sense.
If anyone hasn't done the Enneagram, now I want to know how it
It'll
relates to
change
that.
your life.
Yeah, it's great.
I love it.
Agree. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So building trust through social media. What's your guys' like biggest pieces of advice if somebody's like, I want to build likability and trust on here? How do I go about that?
Do you want to go? I keep going first.
No, that's okay. I'll take this one. I think, like Tyler said earlier, people really want to see reviews before they experience something or buy something. And that has been something with our team where we have a group text, and every week we celebrate all the good reviews that we've had, and we highlight different stylists of the compliments they have gotten online. And I think those are also good things to post about, put it in your stories, and that builds your credibility and helps build trust.
I love that.
Wait, can I real quick stop there? So if you do get a review, tell me how you would post that. Because sometimes people put like the review and it kind of looks like, okay, you should have done something more creative with that. Maybe give some ideas.
Let's go with Marissa for this one.
Going back to real, we literally, like for, I started a hairbrush, and I'm a small business called Glow Beauty. And so for the hairbrush, we just had tons of DMs of people, their experience, like, oh my gosh, my daughter hated brushing her hair, and now she's obsessed, she steals mine all the time. And so my content person that helps me just made like a bunch of those screenshotted DMs and just shared it, instead of versus like typing it out and making it like this beautiful curated thing. It was just like, these are real DMs that we've gotten, and people like that. Every time we would post that, like tons of purchases would come after, because people are like, okay, these people aren't gonna lie, this is real. It's not just on a website. And that's so simple. It takes 5 seconds to do. I don't know how creative that is, but
I think
that's
good.
what we've done. But I wanted to spin off of value. I think when I first started, I've had people reach out like, hey, do you want to collab? We'll pay you this much to post about this. If it is something I don't care about, you have to give the value before you're worrying about money. So I will show up on my hair page and give a formula or share a technique, and it's completely free. I'm not expecting them to pay me anything, because I want my followers to not think everything I'm posting is because I want money in my pocket from you. I do want to help you just as much as I'm going on another person's hair page to get a little bit of information. So I think building that trust that you mentioned above anything else, and maintaining it. So even, let's say you do start making money, I have online courses now. Like I could be like, hey, go to my website and purchase this course. Yeah, sometimes if maybe they keep reaching, but if it's a little thing, hey, what did you tone her with? I'm always gonna give that value, because to me, keeping that relationship is super important.
I love that.
You don't need this, sorry.
Oh, yeah. I almost grabbed it. Okay, so and one of the things I wanted to say is, and Tyler did a great job showcasing all the different people up here. There was those influencers specifically that did they showed the good, bad, and everything in between. You don't want to just share the good. I can think through so many people in my head where you go to their Instagram or you see their videos and you're like, they're so perfect, it's annoying, and you just don't connect, right? So you want to be relatable on there to build trust. Okay, so the next question is authenticity versus professionalism. I feel like this was kind of a hard one for me to think through, but I know that this can change depending on, so many things. Your generation, it can change through what industry you're in. So how do you guys handle that?
Oh gosh, this is why I was taking notes on Tyler's talk, because I'm probably too authentic sometimes. Need to be more professional. I think it is interesting what he brought up, because there's so much oversharing, almost to where it can make the viewer, there's a fine line, because it can make the viewer or the consumer feel uncomfortable sometimes. So there's definitely points where I try to say, okay, this is totally really me, but maybe they don't need to see like so much of it. So you can still be authentic and real, and keep that professionalism and have like that healthy line. And I'm still trying to figure that out. But again, going back to knowing what comes effortlessly for me, and just being real versus, oh, I have to post about this. I feel like my followers, if I come on and I have to promote a class, I hate selling things. I'm not a salesperson. And I'll be like, hey, you need to buy a ticket to this. It's just not how I do it. So really focusing on, being authentic. And I love that word because it's thrown around all the time, but it's also a hard thing to master, I think. Yeah, I'm still trying.
Yeah, and it is everything to show that you are a human and show that, there's a story, like Tyler said, behind the business. And so with us, we try and throw in a lot of the fun on our social media. Like, I don't know if you guys saw, but we have our little mini Aussie that is our salon dog and is our little emotional support animal for our clients. And so we sprinkle him in there, and just the receptionist will go around and video people throughout the day while they're working, so it doesn't have to be like a really staged photo shoot, but just like sprinkling in the fun little moments, just like Marissa's thing she did with her video of dropping her phone and posting it. But there are times where I'll run into someone and they're like, wait, you have a blow dry membership? And I'm like, yes, like I guess we need to do better at promoting that, because we do, and people need to know it. And those are those times where...
Well, I think that's a great reminder that although we feel like, oh, if I have to say this again, they're gonna get so annoyed with me. Not everyone sees what you're doing all the time, so it's okay to post the same thing over and over, and just like, that's a perfect example. You're like, how do you not know? I talk about it all the time. And
it might seem repetitive, but it's good to be repetitive sometimes. Put it out there. That people
even
need
with
to
your
know.
brand story, I was thinking about that. That has been something that's been so good for me, is identifying my brand story and their stories, and then I use that in my social media in all kinds of different ways, and that's actually a great thing to have as a pin post too. I was just thinking.
For sure. I had a thought and I lost it, so hopefully it comes back.
Okay, so let's talk about leveraging visual content. How important do you feel like your videos and your images and your infographics and everything like that, and how can people use it effectively?
Unfortunately, it's very important. Everything is so loud right now. I think we all are ADD. I think everyone wants more. We're scrolling. Nothing shocks us anymore, and it's actually kind of sad. But I think it's super important to have that visual, have a video, but remember that you can use that video chopped up in so many different forms and reuse it. And I think that's something that really clicked for me, because I felt like this is so time consuming. I don't want to do this. It's taking away the fun. But just remembering to film something, maybe not an idea in mind, and then later on maybe you see a trend on social media and you're like, oh, that video I just posted could totally work with that song. Simplifying it, it's great to be creative and have like your own idea. You're gonna stand out more, but if you don't have anything to post, that's a great way to just resurface your old videos.
You want me to go ahead? Yeah, and I think it's so important. That's why I have my video guy in the back, Brandon. Like, he comes to I need content all the time, so it's so nice. I just hire him and he comes and videos it, and I just doing my thing, and then later I get a bunch of videos to be able to go put on top of Reels, and I think that's huge. Hiring a videographer has been a game changer, and a photographer.
Visual is everything, and that's huge with our industry. Doing hair, getting the right shot with the right lighting, and finding the right photographer that can capture that. And for me, being a creative, like, I love the photo shoots. I love all that. That's my jam. I would do it all day, every day. But it is really important, and it helps put out your vibe and the clientele that you want to attract, and building your brand. So it can be fun.
Yeah, and even like thinking through, I can't take photos of, for me, I'm constantly trying to show my community, and I can't take pictures of me engaging in community, so having somebody else do it is so important.
For sure. I have people that work with me that do that as well. And I am on TikTok trying to be when I have time. And if you are someone starting out, I would jump on TikTok above anything else, because you will stand out quicker. It might be harder to maintain, but you will get that attraction quicker. And there's new features on TikTok where you can save it without that dang watermark. So that's huge for me, because then I can then go over to Instagram Reels and use it that way.
I miss seeing your dances.
I'm slacking.
That's why I don't show up there.
Hey, you don't have to dance to be on TikTok, I will tell you.
Okay, I'm gonna bounce around a little bit because we don't have much time, and I really wanna talk about how are you guys getting people off of social media and into your database?
Okay, I love this conversation
Me
because social media, I think a form of it will be around forever, but it's interesting because my conversations that I care the most about, and I don't know if we'll get to that next topic, are in my direct messages. If I have someone taking the time to message me something, I want to hold that relationship in there, and then I want to take that next step to turning them into a paying client to profit from that relationship I've then built. So I would say for me, I don't care about comments, I don't care about the likes, whatever. I think we all realize the number of followers you have, who cares? It's all about that trust and that engagement, and to me, I'm building that in my direct messages. So I have like a certain list of things where, let's say they ask a question, and we talked about I will share that value at first, of course, but if they're still asking, I then want to be able to give them that next step. Hey, I can totally help you with that. Go to my website, there's a course for this. So for me, making sure I have that relationship outside of Instagram would be, are they a paying customer for a course? Are they an email, on my email list? I would say my email list is probably the next important step for me, because
That's
then
so
they're not
important.
just lying in social media.
Yeah.
Lauren, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that that's been one of my biggest focuses, and the tool that every one of you guys can use that's like the cheapest thing I pay for, and it's probably the most effective tool I have, is Flowdesk. It's like $19 a month, and it allows me to generate leads through social media all day. Like, I'll probably look at my inbox when I sit down, and there'll be like leads coming in, because it allows me to create forms, and basically I get people to raise their hand, and when they raise their hand, they're giving me their first name and their email address, and they're opting into whatever I'm talking about. And so for me, if Instagram went away, if my account got hacked, would that affect my business? All day long. But if I'm getting all these email addresses and I'm staying top of mind to them, I'm not as worried about it, right? So I think that has been something that, like, I talk about all the time. So you have to get your email marketing game strong.
For
Use
sure.
Flowdesk and follow Jenna Kutcher. Those things will change your life.
Yeah. I also have a texting group as well that is kind of taking that a step further, where if we're going to launch a new product or a new course, the email subscribers and the texting, they'll get that first dib. So it kind of gives that urgency to be like, okay, I need to be a part of this outside of social media. Do you want to add to anything?
Okay, let's do community engagement. So I think this is huge. You can't just post and not engage with your audience. So do you guys want to talk about some ways that you engage with your followers?
Yeah, well, community is everything, and I love the location our salon is at. It's the new Epicenter in Gilbert, and the Johnsons have done an amazing job at creating the community around us, purposely putting in not the commercial businesses, but like the small little people like us. And it's been everything to connect with our neighbors. We do a lot of our content shoots with our neighbors, and even just doing their hair. And one of the biggest things for me as owning the salon and being a new business owner has been having those business owners in my chair, being able to get information from them. And they're so sweet and down to earth, and they have their own cool story, and it's been great to connect with them. And so just being a part of your community, like really talk to the coffee shop girl or the cash register person, and like bring those people in, because those are your people you see every day.
For me, I am a people person. So if someone, let's say I post something vulnerable or super real, if someone responds and takes the time, maybe I share a lot about parenting. I'm a mom to 4 kids, 4 and under, and my life is I'm running around with my head cut off. So a lot of people can relate if they're in that season, and I post a lot of really real things. So if a mother is in my comments, sometimes she's a hairstylist, sometimes she's not. I'm kind of in that fading away from just being a hairstylist on my social media, but I will take the time when I have time to respond to them. Sometimes there's a ton of DMs, sometimes there's 1 or 2, and I can respond, but I want to make sure I'm not just like, thanks, heart. I love relationships and conversations, and I want to take the time to respond and, again, show that I'm a real person and that I actually care, that you relate to me. So, yeah, I think just building your little community, again, going back to direct messages or comments, and talking to my community as a whole when I'm on my Instagram stories. Like, that's my favorite way to show up. I'm not really a post it on the feed girl. I think that's more like branded people that are great with that thing. I'm like, hey guys, what's up? I want to talk to you on my stories. And so I think my people, my community know that, and so they go to my stories, and it's like we're having this connection there. So that's kind of how I've tried to build my community.
Yeah, and I think time blocking to do that is super important. So instead of just like scrolling at night, be more intentional. Maybe like there's 30 minutes during your workday where you're like, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna go see anyone that's recently connected with me or started following me, and I'll send them a message and I'll be like, hey, oh my gosh, thanks for connecting with me. I see you went to ASU. I see you grew up here. I find some kind of connection point and I just say hi, and then we'll see where the conversation goes. Sometimes it leads to nothing. Sometimes I go have coffee with them next week. So I'm very much engaged with people that I don't know on there, and then also going when I'm time blocking and going through everyone that I already know and seeing like what they're up to and commenting, and it's liking and commenting on their posts, but mostly it's going into their DMs and having a good conversation back and forth with them.
I also want to add, if we have time, we totally don't.
We have 57 seconds, go.
That once you've done that and you've formed that trust, that I lost my train of thought. You continue. You can wrap it up.
Oh, I don't even know. I was like thinking you were going to wrap it up.
I completely lost my train of thought, so you're good to wrap it up.
I don't know. I just totally lost mine now, too.
I'm so sorry. I was like so excited.
The clock, I'm like, we have to stick with the clock.
I saw the clock and it was just like.
It is. Okay.
It's been amazing. I love you guys. I was really honored that I could be up here with you.
Yes, thank you.
We're going to talk out here the whole time. So.
I know, right?
Yeah. I guess that's it.
All right, thank you.